Today I'm going to be talking about a really sensitive case that involves child abuse and torture. So if you're really sensitive to those topics, I suggest you exit out now. We're going to be talking about Gabriel Fernandez, who was 8 years old when he died. And the people who killed him was his own mother, Pearl Fernandez, and I'm going to butcher this name. Her boyfriend, Isauro Aguirre. I'm just going to call him Aguirre because I'm not going to attempt to continue to say his first name. I do want to state that I feel very awful for the child's father because the child's father couldn't help him. And I'll get into that later, but I do want to say, my condolences go with them because I am a mother myself, and I could never imagine losing my kid in that kind of way, or that kind of death, or anything. I could never imagine that. There is a reason why he could not help his son, and it's not because he didn't want to. We'll get into that later, like I said. Gabriel Fernandez was born February 20th, 2005. He was put into custody. I'm going to butcher these names. I am so sorry. He was put into custody by his great-uncle and his great-uncle's partner. And his great-uncle's name was Michael Carzana, and his partner was named David Martinez. So Michael and David raised Gabriel for 4 years, and then in 2009, custody was given over. He was given over to his maternal grandparents, I believe it is. Could be wrong. Maternal grandparents, because they did not like that David and Michael were in a same-sex relationship. So they decided to take the custody over, take custody of Gabriel. Gabriel later then lived with his grandparents until 2012. When his mother and her boyfriend regained custody of them. A lot of family members expressed that they don't want him with his mother because they were scared of something happening, and it did. I do want to talk about his father now because I feel like it's more important to talk about his father also because his father lost someone he cared about, and it's sad. It's honestly sad to lose a kid and not have any control over that. His father's name is Arnold Contreras. I think that's his name. I'm so sorry if I butchered that. He was in jail at the time of Gabriel's abuse and his murder. He was in there for nonviolent crimes, or nonviolent charges. He found out about his son being on life support while in prison. This gives me goosebumps because this is so freaking sad. I feel so sorry for his father, and I don't want to cry. He found out his son was on life support and he was in prison. So I'm also going to go back to his abuse and his murder because most of this stuff is more afterwards, after the fact that Gabriel is dead. Like I said, if this subject of child abuse triggers you, please exit out of the video because this is very upsetting information, especially for another parent to read how it led to the death. So please just exit out the video. Gabriel was systematically abused by his mother and her boyfriend, Aguirre. He was also tortured within the 8 months that he lived with them. Over time, his abuse progressively got worse. He experienced beatings that caused broken bones, and he was forced to eat cat litter, feces, and his own vomit, and spoiled and expired food. He was also burnt by SIGs like cigarettes. And he was shot in various areas of the body by a BB gun, including his face and his groin. He was forced to wear women's clothes, and he slept bound and gagged in a small cupboard. And he was forced to bathe in cold water. That's just some of the abuse that he occurred. I'm not sure if there's more information. I'm going to insert a photo, probably now, of him going to school with the 2 black eyes, and he made a Mother's Day card for his loving mother. And you can see the 2 black eyes. I'm not pretty sure about the school. Like, I don't know if they did anything, because, you know, it's pretty obvious. 8-year-olds showing up with 2 black eyes, that's never good. Pearl had other kids. I'm not sure how many. So Gabriel's siblings, who were from Pearl's side, Pearl was their mother, stated that they used to laugh, not the siblings, the mom and the boyfriend used to laugh while abusing Gabriel because they thought he was homosexual. Apparently that's the reason why. As far as them getting the same treatment, there was no abuse to be indicated on those kids. So it really was only Gabriel. Now we are going to be talking about his death. On May 22nd, 2013. On May 22nd, 2013, dispatch received a phone call from Pearl stating Gabriel was not breathing. Turned out Pearl violently beated Gabriel when he failed to clean up his toys. That beating caused him to go unconscious and stop breathing. It's just, how can you do that? When law enforcement arrived, Gabriel's body was on the floor and he was nude with multiple injuries. I don't know why he was nude. I'm not sure if there was any sexual assault, but if there was, then I don't know who gave them custody. I really don't. And it sucks that someone gave these people custody, because it ended up resulting in his death. Aguirre tried to explain to the cops that Gabriel was gay, and that's why he was beaten, and that's why he had all those injuries. The cops didn't go with that. They weren't like, oh yeah, that makes sense. They were like, so what? He was rushed to the hospital, but he was pronounced brain dead. He was on life support, and that's when his father found out that he was on life support while he was in jail. 2 days later, on May 24th, 2013, Gabriel sadly passed away after the beating he received from his dear mother and her boyfriend, and he died at the Children's Hospital, Los Angeles. There's an autopsy performed on him because it's mandatory. I mean, he is 8. There's no way he died of natural causes. There was no sign of medical issues. They had to do an autopsy, and they just wanted to know what caused his death. Turns out his death was caused by blunt force trauma. So the beating killed him. And that was the official cause of the death. His body also indicated that he was neglected and starved. That was that. That's the death notes. Now I'm going to be talking about the process of the legal proceedings and all that. So, I'm so sorry if I'm explaining this case badly, because this is the first time doing it on camera and not through a voice memo. The day that they called, that dispatched, Pearl and Aguirre were arrested. When, they came to the house, they arrested them. But they were Pearl was charged with felony child endangerment, and Aguirre was charged with attempted murder. considering he was still alive at that time. When Gabriel died 2 days later, they were then charged with first-degree murder under the special circumstances of torture. Prosecutors pursued the death penalty, which I would have done that too, because they literally killed an 8-year-old boy. They killed an 8-year-old boy. Hold on. What?
Why the fuck was I muted?
Because I'm recording something. Prosecutors pursued the death penalty, which I agree with because they killed an 8-year-old boy. In order to take the death penalty off the table for Pearl, she pled guilty in February 2018. And later on, she was then sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. Pearl did speak when she pled guilty, like she made a statement. She said, "I want to say I'm sorry for what happened. I wish Gabriel was alive. Every day I wish that I would have made better choices. I'm sorry to my children and I want them to know that I love them." I'm like, how can you say that when you're the one that literally freaking did nothing and even was in with it? Like, you did the stuff to him with your boyfriend. Sorry, that's like not, you can't just say you hate him because he may be homosexual and then say you wish he was alive. Does she want him alive so he can continue to be her punching bag? Pearl's boyfriend, Aguirre, pleaded not guilty to the charges he was being charged with, which was the first-degree murder with special circumstances of torture. So I'm also going to go back and forth with Gabriel's father and this case this trial, because he pleaded not guilty. He went to a trial because Arnold actually spoke at Aguirre's trial and he testified. The case was prosecuted by, like I said, I'm gonna butcher names, especially like these names that I've never seen before. The case was prosecuted by Deputy District Attorney John Hatamani and Deputy District Attorney Scott Yang. So, because it was a trial, they needed jurors, a grand jury. So, obviously, random people got picked to come in. Oh my god, I hate jury duty. I'm just gonna say that right now because I'm an empath and I feel for other people, even if they're scums. Jurors were given questionnaires to see if they were compatible to judge this case and make a decision on this case, which they usually do. And some things, like if you already see them as guilty, then you probably won't be compatible to be on the jury. Jurors were also informed that the trial could last up to 6 weeks, which is a lot of weeks and a lot of hours they would have to spend on the jury stage thing platform. I don't know what it's called. I don't know why they force us to do these jury thingies, like it should be a choice. Jurors were also informed that the trial involved extensive internal and external injuries to the victim. The jurors consisted of 7 women and 5 men. John Hatamani called Aguirre pure evil and that he deserves the death penalty, even though that doesn't compare to what he did to Gabriel. Defense attorney John Allen, so Aguirre's lawyer, argued that Aguirre was known to be kind and compassionate. When he worked at the retirement facility, He also stated that Aguirre never committed a crime before his relationship with Pearl Fernandez. Of course, he's going to also try to pin the blame all on her, but he's the one at the crime scene saying, oh, we did it because he's gay. The jury elaboration began on November 14th, 2018, and a verdict came by the next afternoon. Obviously, he was guilty of the charges he was being charged with. On December 11th, the jury deliberation for sentence phase happened, and they were deadlocked the next day. But then on December 13th, 17, they recommended the death penalty, and it was approved by the judge, whose name was George Lomelli. I'm going to talk about his father now and the stuff that happened during Aguirre's trial. I want to talk about how his father felt. So obviously his father felt guilt and helplessness that he couldn't protect his son from what happened. And he stated that he should have been there, which I don't know what he was charged for, but it's not his fault. I mean, it's honestly the person who gave them custody, gave them custody of Gabriel again. I think that he probably thought that he was going to be raised with his grandparents and not go back to Pearl and Aguirre. He struggled to express his feelings when he heard the saddened news from the prison chaplain, which I would too, because it's like, are you kidding me? California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, Arnold is listed as being incarcerated for a nonviolent offense. At Aguirre's trial, Arnold spoke fondly and emotionally about his son. He stated that his son was an energetic young man who loved to run and play. Jurors then watched as prosecutors showed photos of Arnold and his son, and Arnold stated that he was loving and kind and liked to play cops and robbers in the backyard. Arnold expressed how he did not want his son living with the mother and the boyfriend, and stated Pearl was never affectionate with Gabriel. And it was under his understanding that Gabriel's maternal grandparents would have custody of his son, but plans changed when Pearl and Aguirre, quote-unquote, took him away. He also states how the death of his son has caused difficulties in sleeping, and he filed for a wrongful death lawsuit along with other families joining in on with him. So, that's that. That's all the information I could find on the case, but it is devastating. Especially, I feel for Gabriel's father, Arnold. Literally had to get the news in prison that his son died and was on life support because his mother fucking beated him. Know if Aguirre ever, got executed yet. It's a recent case, it just recently got done, kind of 2017-ish. Arnold really did not deserve to lose his son, and they should have never given custody back to his mother, especially after expressing their concerns with that. I mean, there's probably a way, or there's probably a reason that his mother did not get custody of him when he was born. I guess because the other kids were not abused or didn't experience abuse, then they thought it was fine, but obviously not. I also think that they probably thought he was homosexual because for 4 years he lived with his great uncle and his great uncle's male partner, so they probably thought he was being raised to be homosexual, which is stupid. But you can't fix stupid. That is that case, and I'm just so sorry. I'm so sorry for Arnold. Like, I don't know how many times I have to say it, but Arnold, if you see this, I'm so sorry this happened to you. And I don't blame him for not helping his son. Like, I don't blame him because he couldn't be there. And I feel like it shouldn't have been done. And I don't blame him for anything because obviously he did not know that his son, or he only understood that he was going to be raised or watched by the grandparents until he would get out. That is it for this video. It was a very depressing video because this is a really sensitive subject and a young victim, like very young victim. I'm gonna go. Peace out.
Those were the days have gone away, but I'm still cold. The heat we made has gone away, and it don't feel the same. I had you in my arms to sleep, and now you're hard to reach, yeah. I'll only see you every night, and my dreams